World-renowned as a shooting team for nearly 40 years, Mr. and Mrs. Adolph Toepperwein present for your pleasure and entertainment this exhibition of fancy shooting on the beautiful grounds of one of the finest shooting clubs anywhere. Mr. Toepperwein, better known as Ad to his half-century following of shooting enthusiasts, makes his own introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, the object of this exhibition this afternoon is to show you the wonderful accuracy of Winchester guns and Winchester and Western factory-loaded ammunition. In doing this shooting, we use a standard Winchester gun of different calibers and different models, and standard Winchester and Western factory-loaded ammunition, the same kind of ammunition that you can buy in any country store. So there's nothing special about the guns, and there's nothing special about the ammunition. I also wish to understand that there's nothing very special or very wonderful about this kind of shooting. We're not out here trying to show you something what someone else can do just as well. And I'm sure there's a good many among you who can do the same kind of shooting that we're doing with the same amount of practice and attention that we've paid to it. You don't have to be a freak to be a marksman, remember that. Success if you're shooting depends entirely how much and how often you shoot and how often you practice. That's all there is to it. I want to introduce to you this time Mrs. Toepperwein, my first wife, who will show you different shots with a rifle, pistol, and shotgun. Mrs. Toepperwein is one of those happy characters that can shoot equally well with rifle, pistol, or shotgun. Our first shooting will be with a revolver. Here she goes.
Mrs. Toepperwein, better known as Plinky, uses a standard .38 special revolver for all her handgun shooting. That was easy. So, to make it a bit harder, she turns the gun sideways. And then to make it still more interesting, the gun is held inverted. Plinky uses Western .38 special mid-range target cartridges. For as she says, only the best is good enough for this kind of shooting. Does she ever miss? Well, Top says she always misses. His fingers. Clay targets seem large, so Top, as we like to call Ad sometimes, draws a neat red heart on a piece of paper, and Plinky puts one bullet after the other into it. If you watch closely, you'll see the fifth bullet cut into the top right edge of the hole made by the first three shots. Yes, things are getting tougher. These wooden discs are considerably smaller than the previous targets, but Plinky takes them in her stride. There are times, however, when Ad, confident in her ability, puts her on the spot. This seems to be one of those times. Let's listen in on this.
No, Daddy, don't do that.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead, but don't you miss it.
Close your eyes and hold it steady.
Now, Top always sneaks in a few new shots somewhere during the shoot. This seems to be one of them, and he asks Plinky to load two guns. Not knowing what comes next, she looks a bit puzzled. As a youngster, Ad worked in a crockery shop. Perhaps this is where he learned to enjoy the sound of shattering dishes. Anyway, he places two plates sticking up from the ground. Yes, he wants her to shoot both of them at one time. As she aimed both barrels, it sounded like she said, "This is what I call a cockeyed shot." Western story addicts have often been thrilled as the hero punctured the ace of spades dead center with his trusty six-gun. But Plinky has her own ideas about hitting cards, and after assuring and reassuring Top, she takes position, aims, and cuts this card in two, edgewise. Now, while Plinky rests a bit, Top warms up on a few easy targets. Just regular shooting has no place in the Topperweinds exhibition, so he aims to break a few easy targets the hard way. Ah, so you see how it's done? With mirrors. Simple. But after trying a few shots like this, I'm sure it'd be an aspirin and not more targets that you'd want. In no place can we find records indicating Top ever taught school, but he seems to have eyes in the back of his head when he makes this shot. Practice, that's all it takes, Top says. Only about 50 years of it, I'd say. And he really hits what he thinks he's aiming at. It gets monotonous shooting at the same things all the time, so Top provides a variety of targets. As an added attraction, when ladies are in the audience, he also has a few household hints to offer as the shooting progresses. The first thing in preparing dinner is to make a fire, and Top prefers to chop his kindling with his trusty shooting iron. French fries are ready for the pan in a hurry when you have a few .38 cartridges, a gun, and some potatoes ready. Large or small, the bullets seem always to find the targets when Top points his gun. Hitting them is easy. It's how fast can you shoot them. 2 cans in the air at one time looks to be the limit, but not for Top. Here goes 3, and they won't hold water or oil anymore. This usually ends Top's pistol shooting, but he feels good today. Says he hasn't tried these shots for a long time. Don't blame him if he misses. I would never try them myself. Remember the 2 plates Plinky shattered a while ago? Well, Top goes in for some cockeyed shooting, too. Only when you examine the cans, they prove there's nothing cockeyed about his aiming. Top was born in San Antonio, Texas, so fast belt gun handling is second nature for him. Hip shooting is one thing, but Top thinks it's too easy, so he varies the technique with this position. Boy, this must be fun. And Plinky gets a call for more cartridges. As long as the ammunition holds out, Top finds something to do with it.
He's just playing now.
This pile of cans is an irresistible target for rapid fire, and incidentally makes a fine display. Ed discovered Plinky, his first wife as he calls her, in 1903, working in the Winchester factory. She had never fired a gun prior to her marriage, but under Ed's guidance soon became one half of the famous Topperwein shooting team. She likes this Winchester Model 61 hammerless slide action repeater because, as she says, it's a real man's gun for a lady. How well she likes it is demonstrated by the way she shoots it. Like taking candy from a baby, she says.
Now, honey, be careful. Be sure to hit 'em on the end. You know, there's lots of finger in those shells, and look out for that little finger and that thumb.
Oh, darn. I missed that one.
But our guess is that Plinky missed on purpose, because these shells must be hit squarely on that small brass head to knock them off. And after more than 30 years, Ed still has all of his fingers unscarred. As kids, throwing chalk behind the teacher's back was sport. But here's a little different twist to that old trick.
Now, Daddy, let's try a new one. Don't be afraid. I won't miss it, I hope. Hold it steady.
Pointing and aiming by instinct seems to be natural with Ad, but his phenomenal 10-day exhibition in 1908, breaking 72,500 wooden blocks thrown in the air, is a world record in many respects. Of this unbelievable number, he missed but 9, and at one time ran his string to 14,560 consecutive hits without a miss. The blocks are approximately 2 1/4 inches square. Try this sometime. Nothing to it. For Top. If you don't happen to have any wooden blocks around, Top will be glad to oblige using a piece of brick or a lump of coal. Plinky loves to get in on this fun, too, and has a lady's record tucked away among her laurels for hitting aerial targets. 1,460 wooden blocks without a miss. A variety of targets is always welcome, and as long as they break, shatter, or make a noise when hit, they're okay. These metal discs are fine targets, producing a whing and a whine when hit, and provide souvenirs that are eagerly sought after by the audience.
The rifle that Mrs. Topperwein was just shooting is the Model 63 Winchester automatic, shooting the famous Winchester Super Speed and Western Super X long rifle cartridge. A very wonderful gun, very easy gun to shoot. All you have to do to shoot this baby is just simply pull the trigger.
Top likes to see things move, and with his Model 63 and a carton of expert long rifle cartridges, they keep going until the last shot is fired.
I'm now going to shoot the famous lever-action Winchester. This is the gun that made the name Winchester famous all over the world. There's over 1 million of these guns in use all over the country. It's a choice of the gun in the Southwest and hunters, and although the model is practically 50 years old, been on the market that long, it's still a very popular gun, and you can shoot it practically just as fast as you can any other repeating rifle.
Aerial targets are fair game to Ad with his heavy center-fire rifle, the same as when shooting rimfire cartridges. He drops another household hint, this time on how to mash potatoes. An exponent of truly pioneer Winchester gun handling, Ad shows how to throw a lot of lead in a hurry accurately. High-powered, super-speed, open-point bullet cartridges are very efficient for their explosive effect, as Ad demonstrates. If you get up late for breakfast, you can extract the juice of an orange without removing the paper. Milk cans were not designed to be opened by any opener at hand in most kitchens, so Ad decided something should be done about it. The only drawback to his method is that you may get what resembles whipped cream, and he finds to his dismay that it does not look well on blue slacks. Now, hitting aerial targets is one thing, but to keep in shape one needs exercise. So a few gymnastics are added. Oh, to be young again. There have been many explanations about just what happens when a silver-tipped bullet hits. But this Winchester 30-30 carbine with silver-tipped bullet cartridges illustrates the point better. Water is poured into one can and an empty can placed on top of it. Wham! And up she goes, 60 feet, blown by the hydraulic pressure created by the bullet hitting the bottom can of water. This 5-quart can might represent the boiler room of a buck deer or a bear. Filled with water and hit with a Super X silver-tip bullet, it smashed the box support and does a fine job of rendering the can anything but serviceable. Under conditions of game shooting, such performance guarantees a trophy for your den or meat for the table. Since no game trophies are available, Top makes a few souvenirs for the spectators by perforating some of these 2-inch metal discs. He also perforates silver dollars, providing you furnish the dollar. Top still has a few cartridges and targets left, so he winds up this part of his performance in the typical Topperwein style of toss, shoot, and hit at a pace that would keep a youngster puffing. A fancy shooting feature, originated and made famous by Ed, is a high spot of their exhibition. Here is what Top usually says in introducing this part of the exhibition.
Now, as I have said before, folks, there's nothing much and wonderful about this kind of shooting. It's a matter of practice, that's all. So don't go away from here thinking you've seen something that you can't do yourself. Now, in order to show you the wonderful accuracy of Winchester and Wesson 22 cartridges, I'm going to place a number of rapid-fired shots on this piece of tin target that you see out here in such a manner as to form, when completed, the perfect outlines of any picture or figure that I may have in mind. There are positively no marks or lines of any kind to aid my shooting. I just simply punch a lot of holes in the target in such a manner as to form, when they're completed, the outlines of some picture, provided, of course, those bullet holes go where I want them to go. Otherwise, there won't be much of a picture. In doing this bit of shooting, I use the famous Model 74-22 automatic Winchester rifle, a very accurate and very fast gun and easy gun to operate.
Ed has artistic talent along with his shooting ability. In fact, in his younger days, he spent considerable time as a news cartoonist. Even now, in idle moments, he picks up any piece of paper handy and quickly sketches caricatures, mainly of Western characters, or any other subject that captures his fancy at the moment. The Indian head has been his most famous bullet drawing, but at present he feels this character is more interesting, and we heartily agree with it. As you just heard Top say, there are no marks, lines, or guides on the target to aid in making these pictures. In fact, he many times announces he will draw one character, but substitutes another which may seem more appropriate by the time he places himself in front of the target. Plinky is always on hand, assisting him to reload, speeding up the performance. The Topperweinds are masters with all types of arms, and the shotgun now comes in for expert attention. Using a Winchester Model 12 hammerless repeating slide-action gun and super trap loads, the same as you or I would use, they begin this part of their show. Ed throws white flyer targets with the handy Western hand trap from all angles and positions. But Plinky just never misses. In fact, she competed for many years as a professional trap shooter and in every state of the Union. The distinction of being the first woman to break 100 straight at the traps is hers, and she has duplicated this feat 192 times in her career. She also holds the ladies' long-run record of 367 consecutive targets broken. Single targets seem easy. In fact, even I can hit one occasionally. So Top has assembled 2 hand traps so he can throw doubles. Well, Plinky, let's see how you make out now. Doesn't seem to make any difference where they come from or how many at a time. They all reach the ground as dust. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, Ad takes all the hand traps he has and a stack of targets and tells her to load her gun. He tries once more. A handful, straight up. But no good. Plinky's just too fast. Now it's Ad's turn while Plinky rests. It's plain to see that hitting white flyers is easy. Or is it? Well, maybe not the way he does it. Most of us like to have our gun at the shoulder and call for the target. But here is a one-man trap field and shooter in action. Ad never seems to tire. Doubles, hit one, spin and hit another. Makes me dizzy to watch, but he hits them just the same. Ad has a couple more hints for the ladies. These red things are painted eggs. Break them this way and there'll be no shells in your cake. And of course, no eggs either. Ad says he also heard the ladies use egg rinses for their hair, so he tries it, man fashion, on someone else. His faithful helper gets a trial treatment. The Winchester Model 42 hammerless slide-action shotgun, chambered for 3-inch 410 gauge Super X shells, is a mighty performer in the hands of an expert. Top demonstrates further what a man-sized job this graceful little combination will do. Light and fast handling, it can be used for many tasks for which larger bores are commonly used. In spite of position, this handy gun breaks the target for Ad with uncanny regularity. If you think it can't be done, it's all in the head. At least so it seems as Top tries this shot. Boy, I'm not too good when both feet are on the ground. But Ad, who's only 73 years old, powders this target with apparent ease. And then, to prove that it wasn't just luck, Ad gets into position for another Chinaman's view, and this time will hit 2 targets. What a man. Ah, to be young again. Can you still turn a somersault? Ad proves he can. And how? This usually ends the show, but Ad has just gotten another idea. He admits he has never tried it before, so we'll watch and see what he's about. Not a picture this time. And this echoes the sentiments of thousands of pleased spectators who for almost 40 years have enjoyed the exhibitions of Mr. and Mrs. Adolph Toepperwein, the grandest couple that ever thrilled an audience. And here they are to say farewell.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our exhibition. We thank you very much for your wonderful attention. Goodbye and good luck.
Goodbye.